Welcome back to another explainer. Today, we're diving into something truly mind-bending: how the very operating system of a civilization, its fundamental view of reality, actually builds the world around us. We're going to be exploring the fascinating doctoral research of Dr. Choi Won-Heok, which maps out the deep, philosophical rift between the East and the West.
It's a massive question, isn't it? How do these fundamental views of reality literally shape an entire civilization? Well, to figure that out, we have to look at the foundational frameworks of the human mind. Every civilization has a core lens through which it views heaven, earth, and humanity. And these aren't just abstract, dusty ideas. They dictate how societies structure themselves, how they approach science, and how everyday individuals understand their purpose in the universe.
Here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to start with two main views of reality. Contrast the Western formative heaven with the Eastern assimilative heaven, compare how they view Earth and humanity, and finally explore Dong Hak's autogenous modernity in a completely new worldview.
All right, let's jump right into part one, two views of reality.
Let's kick things off with a Western lens, which is built on ontology. Think of this as a thought system completely obsessed with substance and clear boundaries. In Western philosophy, change is mostly explained through distinct, separate entities and forms. It's kind of like a giant puzzle. You want to categorize things, draw a hard border around them, and understand the universe by breaking it down into its fundamental, separate pieces.
Now, in stark contrast, the Eastern lens uses what's called generative theory. So instead of looking at fixed entities and strict boundaries, this system is all about attributes, correlation, and continuous change. It doesn't explain reality by pulling things apart to find their underlying substance. No, it explains it through assimilation, how different elements interact, flow, and organically integrate with each other.
To put that into perspective, on the Western side, we rely on the solid architecture of Aristotle and Plato, structural forms and elements dictating reality. But over on the Eastern side, reality is mapped out through fluid, interconnected energy systems. We're talking Taiji and the yin-yang 5 elements. So you've got a framework of solid architecture on one hand, and a framework of continuous shifting energy on the other.
Moving right along to part 2, the Western formative heaven.
Okay, so the Western view strictly separates essence from phenomenon. It views heaven as this formative principle. Imagine a sculptor taking a lump of raw, formless clay and pressing a mold right into it. In this worldview, heaven is that ultimate mold or essence that gives shape and meaning to raw physical matter. The two things are distinctly separate.
So the crucial takeaway here is that this separation creates a deeply dualistic world. You've got a singular, transcendent, absolute God acting on the material world from the outside. Heaven acts as the essential principle changing that matter. And honestly, this is absolutely crucial to understand because this exact dualistic structural thinking is the very foundation that paved the way for the rationalism and objectification required in modern Western scientific thought.
Now let's flip the script for part 3, the Eastern assimilative heaven.
The Eastern heaven isn't formative at all, it's assimilative. It doesn't sit outside the universe stamping forms into matter like that sculptor. Instead, it integrates different, heterogeneous elements into a unified, harmonious whole. It's an organic integration. The relationship between things, like that delicate balance of yin and yang, is actually what creates the structure of reality.
Notice how differently change is defined in these two systems. In the West, change is mechanical, literally the combining and separating of forms and matter. But in the East, change is the organic assimilation and integration of differences. And look at the concept of God. The West conceptualizes a transcendent, absolute, singular entity. The East, on the other hand, perceives a multi-layered, interconnected spiritual presence, Shangdi, spirits, ancestors, all completely woven into the fabric of the universe.
All right, bringing it down to the ground for part 4, comparing Earth and humanity.
There is this fascinating contrast in how Earth itself is perceived. The West sees Earth primarily as material. It's just physical stuff waiting to receive a form from heaven. But the East views Earth as condensing. It's seen as a living, organic body full of yin-yang principles, naturally responding to heaven not as just raw material, but as a dynamic, active partner.
And naturally, this totally shapes who we are within these systems. The Western human is defined as growth-oriented. Because of that dualistic split we talked about earlier, the Western human operates as a rational subject with a highly individualized identity. They focus on functional differentiation, and since Earth is just material, the Western human naturally objectifies nature, basically seeking to dominate and shape the natural world to fuel that ongoing growth.
Conversely, let's look at the Eastern human.
They are defined as contact transforming. Instead of focusing on individual differentiation, they are all about fusion and balance. Their highest purpose isn't to dominate nature, it's to harmonize different entities into one. They act as this vital organic mediator bridging the energies of heaven and earth, always seeking continuous organic assimilation.
Which brings us to Part 5, Donghak's autogenous modernity.
This brings up a real game-changer of a concept from Dr. Choi's dissertation, autogenous modernity. See, when Western modernization swept across the globe, it obviously brought its ontology with it. But within the Korean Donghak philosophical movement, we see a uniquely self-generated form of modernization. It didn't just passively swallow Western dualism whole. Instead, it actually sought to organically bridge traditional Eastern generative thought with modern structural changes.
At the very heart of this incredible synthesis is a profound concept known as Sikenju, which translates to serving the Lord of Heaven. This concept acts as the ultimate philosophical bridge between the two massive worldviews we've been unpacking today.
Basically, Sikenju creates a liminal space. What does that mean in plain English? It acts as a transitional threshold. It has this unique ability to revitalize the Eastern focus on generative harmony, while at the exact same time integrating the Western drive for ontological individual growth. It allows for a modern, rational individual who doesn't actually have to destroy nature to exist. It preserves both worldviews without letting one obliterate the other.
And that leads us to our final section, Part 6, A New Worldview.
The big takeaway here is that humanity absolutely doesn't have to choose between Western ontology and Eastern generative theory. By integrating the clear boundaries and growth orientation of the West with the organic interconnectedness and assimilation of the East, we are essentially handed a blueprint. It's a blueprint for a balanced, future-oriented society that values individual, rational growth just as much as ecological and spiritual harmony.
So I want to leave you with this final thought to really ponder. As we face unprecedented global challenges right now, from climate change to social fragmentation, how might we actually apply this exact synthesis of structural growth and organic harmony in our own lives and institutions? Can we be rational individuals who also act as harmonious mediators for the Earth? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this gives you a powerful new lens through which to view the reality around you.